So thanks again for your flexibility. The silver lining to the early lunch is with a little bit of luck, we might end a little bit earlier than expected, which means you get an earlier start on the commute home in the bad way. So there might be a silver lining to this. So thank you for your flexibility and your patience. Mr. Garner, are you ready with the state's next witness?
Yes, Your Honor. The state calls William Oku III to the stand.
Can you please stand? Raise your right hand.
You do solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Have a seat.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Okay, before we go any further, can you hold the microphone as close to yourself as possible
All right.
and do your best to speak into the microphone for the rest of your testimony today, okay?
Will do.
Okay. First of all, can you please state your name
William Oku III.
and what do you do for work?
I'm a Honolulu police officer.
How long have you been employed by HPD?
Just a little over 10 years now.
Were you employed and on duty on March 24th, 2025?
Yes, I was.
What was your assigned unit on that date?
During that time, I was part of the strategic enforcement detail under the homicide detail.
On that date, were you dispatched to the Pali Lookout area?
Yes, I was.
And around what time did you get there?
It was approximately 12:45 p.m.
Was the Pali Lookout in the surrounding area in the city and county of Honolulu, state of Hawaii?
Yes, it is.
In general terms, can you explain what your involvement at the Pali Lookout area was on March 24th, 2025?
Sure, I was assigned to canvass that area.
What is canvassing?
Usually, in this case, it would be you were looking for something in that area, in layman terms.
And in this case, what was the primary thing you were canvassing for?
A suspect.
Okay. Other than the suspect, were you canvassing for anything else?
No, not at that time.
Can you estimate how many people were involved in the canvassing on March 24th, 2025?
Sure, approximately 5 officers,
Okay.
including myself. Yeah.
Is this all officers, or is this a specific unit you're talking about?
Just a specific unit,
Okay, which unit had about 5 officers there?
the strategic enforcement detail.
Were there any other agencies present?
Yes, there was.
Who else was there?
I believe it was DNR and DOCARE.
All right. And did you prepare any diagrams as part of your work on this case?
Yes, I did.
Would those diagrams help explain the rest of your testimony today?
Yes, it will.
Gotcha. All right, I'm going to approach with what's been marked as States Exhibits 18 through 21, previously shown to defense counsel. Officer Oku, I've handed you what's been marked as States Exhibits 18 through 21. Do you recognize what these are?
Yes, I do.
And what are these?
These are the diagrams that I've constructed.
Say you constructed them. Did you prepare them yourself?
I did.
How did you prepare them?
I used this hiking app that I used. I'm not too sure. I recall which one it was, though.
You say it's an app. What device was it on?
On my phone. Or, sorry, excuse me, it was on the computer. I can pull it up.
You say it was a hiking application?
Yes.
What area of the island do these diagrams depict?
This is the Nu'uanu Pali area.
And then, are you familiar with the Nu'uanu Pali area yourself?
I am. I've worked there in the Nu'uanu area in the earlier part of my career.
And are you familiar with the specific areas that your diagrams depict?
Yes.
Do these diagrams reasonably depict the Pali Lookout area and the Pali Puka Trail area on March 24, 2025?
That's correct.
At this point, the state moves Exhibits 18 through 21 into evidence.
Mr. Otake.
No objection.
What has been marked for identification as States Exhibits 18 through 21 inclusive will be received into evidence.
All right, Officer Oku, you can put those diagrams down for now. I'm going to have anything you do be on the big screen next to you, and then if you can see there's a pointer to your right, as I ask you to demonstrate, if you could use that, please.
Okay.
And ladies and gentlemen, the jury, while Mr. Garner is publishing the diagrams and the exhibits, I should tell you, whatever exhibits are published here in the courtroom, this is not the only time that you get to see them. They will be made available for you. In fact, they'll go into the jury deliberation room with you so you can review them during your deliberations. So this is not the only time that you get to see these exhibits. Please proceed.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to publish States Exhibit 18 right now. Okay. Officer Oku, could you explain, or could you orient us to this diagram?
Yeah.
And if you can step down, if you do step down, could you keep your voice up?
For sure. So this is the diagram that I created, which was the area of the new one, Pali and Pali Lookout Trail.
Where's the Pali Highway on this diagram?
That would be this yellow line here.
And that's sort of in the central area of the diagram?
Correct.
Where is the Pali Lookout on this diagram?
This is the Pali Lookout here.
Okay. And that is on the bottom right?
Correct.
Where is the Pali Puka Trail on this diagram?
That would be this area here, which is a ridge line.
And I know you said you used a computer application, a hiking application to make this. Did you add anything to the diagram?
Specific locations, yes.
Okay. We're going to go through those. I see a red X on the right side of the diagram. What does the red X represent?
Sure, this red X depicts where the scene was.
What does the black star in the central area represent?
This is the black star here, which is along New One Pali Drive, I believe, and that is where the suspect was located.
What does the purple area represent on the right side?
This purple area represents the, I guess, area I searched. I conducted a search, and it's just the boundaries.
Got it. Okay, I'm going to keep you standing there. I'm now going to publish State's Exhibit number 19. Okay, Officer Oku, could you orient us to this diagram?
Okay, sure. This is another view of the Pali Lookout area, just closer up.
I see a shaded gray area at the bottom, on the bottom middle right. What is that?
This is the parking lot of the Pali Lookout.
Also, there's a bunch of these horizontal lines on the map. What are those?
These lines here?
Yes.
These are our what they call contour lines, and in a topography map, it represents the, I guess, elevation gain, or if the lines are closer together, it represents that the terrain is steeper. If it's further apart, the terrain is usually flat. And in a topography map, it usually just indicates the slopeness of the terrain.
How many vertical feet of elevation are between each line in this diagram?
Just foundational objection. State?
Do you know the amount of vertical feet that are between each line?
About 40 feet.
Well, yeah. It's the same objection. I mean, it's just a lack of foundation in terms of who made this map, where that hearsay information is.
State, foundation, please.
Officer
Officer Oku, are you familiar with topographical maps?
I am.
How do you become familiar with them?
I use it while I hike.
Sorry?
I hike and I use it while I hike.
And are you able to determine the elevation difference between each line of the map?
Yes.
How would you do that?
Usually it goes by about 40 feet.
Okay. I'm going to go back.
Can we approach?
Sure, come on up.
Comments about distance of the line, I ask that be stricken.
Granted. Officer Oku's last testimony about the distance of the lines stricken from the record.
We're going to move on, officer. Okay. looking at this purple area on the right side, can you remind us what that was again?
Yeah, this was the area that I conducted a search for the suspect.
How long did you search for the suspect in this area?
That was approximately 4 to 4.5 hours.
What was the terrain like in that area?
It was dangerous. Vegetation was dense and difficult to traverse through.
What was the slope like
I'm
in
sorry,
that area?
I didn't hear that last.
The terrain is dangerous and
Difficult to-
traverse through.
Okay, thank you.
When you say difficult to traverse through, sorry, tongue-tied. When you say the terrain was difficult to traverse through, what made it difficult?
First of all, the steepness of the terrain, the vegetation and growth, and the limited space for you to walk.
Now, you mentioned a bit about dense brush. What was the plant cover like in that area?
It was heavy, but the trail, there's obviously a trail, but to the left and right, it was heavy.
And what was the specific coverage like kind of at the ground level?
It was rock, scree, loose rock, boulders, and plants.
And what was the ground coverage like off of the trail?
A little more dense brush.
Did you have any safety concerns canvassing this area?
I did.
What were those concerns?
Obviously, the safety for myself and other officers, either falling off of the cliff, and also the suspect.
Right. I'm going to move on and publish State's Exhibit number 20. Officer Oku, can you orient us to where this to what this diagram is showing?
Sure, this specifically shows the area where I searched on the Pali Lookout.
Okay. Is this the same view or a different view?
It's the same view.
Now, I see the purple area goes above the red star. Can you remind us one more time what the red X is?
Yeah, the red X is the scene.
Okay. And the purple area, it appears to go far above that on the map.
That's correct.
What was the terrain like above the scene?
It became increasingly more dangerous, a little more narrow, and exposed.
And for non-hikers, what is exposed?
Sorry,
mean?
exposed to the cliff face a little more, and obviously the weather.
What was the terrain like an area on the left side of this diagram, on the town side?
The town side, there was a slight decline going down into a heavily forested area.
And what was the... Okay, moving on. Last diagram. Publishing States Exhibit 21. All right. What does this diagram depict?
This is an over-the-top view, like a bird's-eye view of the Pali Highway and the Pali Nuwan area.
You mentioned Nuuanu Pali Road. What is that?
This is the access road that you can access the lookout to.
All right, I'm sorry, I got to go back just a little bit to States Exhibit 19. Okay, and I'm actually going to circle an area on the map using the iPad here. What was the terrain like in this area?
Objection, lacks foundation, it's not an area he canvassed.
Sustain.
Officer Oku, are you familiar with this area?
I am.
Have you ever been there before?
No.
Okay, how do you become familiar with the area?
Well, I can see that area when I'm hiking up and down. So.
Okay. So what is the, I guess, not the terrain under the trees, but what is the general terrain like that you could see?
It's a mountainside with canvas trees and brush.
Okay. All right, you can have a seat. Officer Oku, did you find the suspect while canvassing for 4.5 hours?
He was located, yes.
I'm sorry.
He
Did
was-
you find the suspect?
No, I didn't find the suspect, no.
Did you find any additional evidence while canvassing?
No,
Okay, so did you find any syringes?
no,
Did you find a cell phone?
no,
Did you find a wallet,
no,
a purse,
no,
any vials?
no.
Thank you for your question, or thank you for your answers.
Cross-examination.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Officer Oku.
Good afternoon.
Thank you for being here. Just a few questions. Now, you indicated that you're familiar with that hike and that parking lot area, is that right?
That's correct.
And is that from your work? Did you used to be on patrol in the Nuuanu area?
During patrol and as well as missing persons detail.
Okay. And then also, had you ever hiked on that hike before this?
I have.
Okay. And it's true then that the parking lot that, you access the trailhead for, it's the same parking lot for the Pali Lookout, yes?
Correct.
And in your experience in all these different ways, the Pali Lookout at, midday, 10 a.m., it can be pretty crowded, yes?
Absolutely.
Okay. Now, you indicated you canvassed the area, meaning you searched the area, yes?
Yes.
And in addition to searching for a suspect, you were also canvassing for any evidence pertinent to the case, correct?
Oh, that's correct, yes.
Okay. And so not only are you walking around or hiking around looking for a suspect, but you're keeping an eye out for evidence as well, yes?
Yes.
And you said about 4.5 hours, is that right?
Correct, approximately.
Okay. I wanted to ask you, can we pull up exhibit, Your Honor, it's already in evidence, exhibit 20. If you can put it on the screen, please. Mr. Dirks will help us with that. Okay. Okay. Does it get bigger than that, or? Okay, I think everyone can see it. I guess the question I had is, may I approach, Your Honor? Okay. This, this pink area here,
Yes,
you said that's the area you canvassed?
that's correct.
Did you have like a GPS thing that helped you pinpoint that was the area you canvassed? Or was this kind of more of an estimation?
More of estimation.
Okay, so in other words, you took this map and then kind of estimated how far this way or that way and how far up you went, is that right?
Correct.
Okay, but no GPS exact pinpointing that these are the areas we canvassed, correct?
Correct.
All right, but your best guess, right? Our best estimate, right?
Yes.
Now, you said that the X is what was reported to you to be the scene, yes?
Correct.
And then you went all the way up higher, correct?
Yes.
And I think you said above the X, when you got higher up, it was more exposed, yes?
That's true, yes.
Meaning exposed to the cliff edge, correct?
Yes.
But you mentioned the lower part where the scene and down that way, down back towards the parking lot, there was heavy vegetation, you mentioned, yes?
Yes.
Okay. I think you mentioned the vegetation was dense, right?
That's correct.
And on the left and the right of the trail, the vegetation was heavy, but there was a trail, yes?
Yes.
Okay. You mentioned as you heading up higher, you had some safety concerns. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Did you?
Oh, yes.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
What were you? How were you attired that day? Or how were you dressed that day?
I was in the plainclothes capacity, but I still had my ballistic vest on. My badge was around my neck on the lanyard like this.
Okay.
I also had my department-issued firearm.
Okay.
And yeah.
Did you have any specialized hiking gear or ropes or pulleys or anything like that?
No, I had a backpack with some water.
Okay. So some safety concerns, but not enough where you felt you could do it, right?
Correct.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, officer. No further questions.
Any redirect? Yes, please.
How familiar were you with that hike, officer?
I've done it a few times.
How far up have you gone?
I've gone to a little bit past the puka.
Since we've asked about your experience, I'll ask this. In your experience, what level of danger is this trail?
Well, objection vague.
In your experience, how dangerous is this trail?
Same objection.
It could be very dangerous.
Now, you were asked about the scene and about the brush at the area near the scene. Is there any exposure at the scene that you saw in there?
Yes, there is.
What exposure is there at the scene?
There is a cliff to the right.
And I know you were asked about the estimating the area you searched. Were you able to search the bottom of the cliff yourself?
I attempted to.
How so?
I went on to the Kanyohe side, and I believe that's the golf course area, to see if I could get to the base of the cliff. But due to the, I guess, daylight and the accessibility, it wasn't possible.
And you were asked something and brought up the missing persons detail. What was your experience in that area for the missing persons detail?
I've had a few cases where there were missing persons located at the bottom of the Pali Lookout.
Understood. Okay. Thank you. No further questions.
Any recross based on what was asked and redirect?
No. Thank you, officer.
Officer, thank you. You can step down. Watch that first step.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Garner, state's next witness.
State calls Kang Chuan Wu to the stand.